If I asked you to tell me everything you know about carrots, it probably wouldn't be that much, to be honest. They're just not something we spend that much time thinking about. But a few of the things you might tell me are that carrots are orange, rabbits like to eat them, and they're good for your eyesight. But what if I told you that those three things are not as true as you always thought they were? Because even if you don't find carrots interesting, and frankly, who does, then maybe you'll find genetic modification, medieval kings, classic cartoons, and World War II propaganda to be a little more to your liking. So stay tuned while we discuss all of those things, and carrots. In today's episode, Carrot? I barely knew it. Carrots as we know them now are high in both alpha and beta carotenes, which are orange-colored pigments that are precursors to vitamin A. Since carrots contain such high levels of these carotenoid pigments, carrot, carotenoid, see the connection? They're not only orange in color, they're also high in vitamin A, which we'll discuss in more detail momentarily. But wild and heirloom carrots are not orange. They tend to be white, yellow, or even purple. So how and why did carrots suddenly shift to the form we know today? Scientists who study carrots believe that the first carrots to have that characteristic orange hue were actually a random, double recessive genetic mutation. You see, carotenoid pigments are photosynthetic. And as you no doubt remember from grade school science, photosynthesis is the process by which plants make food out of carbon dioxide and sunlight. But carrots are the root of the plant and grow underground, where they're never exposed to sunlight. There's just no need for photosynthetic dyes in the roots. So it appears to have just been a freak occurrence that two different carrot plants containing a copy of that recessive gene just happened to cross-pollinate and create carrots with excess carotenes, and thus create orange carrots. I imagine the first farmer to ever pull these out of the ground expecting to see white or purple roots was kind of like, what? But now that raises another question. If this was just a freak occurrence, especially one involving recessive genes, then how did orange carrots overtake the more common white and purple varieties to become the norm? Well, the prevailing theory, although it's one that's currently the subject of much dispute among historians, is that orange carrots were a popular political symbol with a certain 16th century Dutch nobleman, namely this guy, William the Silent, also known as William of Nassau, and later William of Orange. Carrots were a popular and abundant crop in the Netherlands, and it's thought that this is where orange carrots made their first appearance. In the year 1544, William the Silent assumed control of a region now known as Orange, which had been named after the fruit way back in Roman times, and he quickly became a powerful and popular fighter for Dutch independence. In fact, he grew so powerful and famous that Dutch farmers began seeking out and growing those weird, mutated orange carrots specifically as a tribute to him and as a display of their allegiance to his movement. In a very short time, virtually all Dutch carrot farmers had gotten rid of their white and purple carrot stalks and switched to orange, and this variety rapidly spread throughout Europe, especially to the British Isles, which will also become important later in this video. Now, some historians say that that story is apocryphal with little to no evidence behind it. However, a few of the things that we do know is that orange carrots first became popular in the Netherlands during the 16th century, and that most modern orange carrot varieties can trace their ancestry back to that region at that time frame. William of Orange's involvement may be suspect, but whether this is just an inbred mutant, a tool of the monarchy, or both, as is so often the case, look up royal inbreeding sometime. Orange carrots can probably trace their ancestry back further than you or I can. If you've ever read a kid's book or watched a cartoon that had a rabbit in it, it's a sure bet that they were pictured with a carrot. It's just something we all know because we've all been told it since our earliest childhood. Rabbits eat carrots. And they do, certainly, but this is also misleading. To be honest, rabbits don't really prefer carrots to any other foods. Their diet actually consists mostly of grass, alfalfa, and hay.
Hey!
Hay is for horses, son.
Well, it's for rabbits too. But while rabbits can and do eat carrots, carrots are actually high in carbs and sugar, so a diet consisting exclusively of carrots is actually extremely unhealthy for rabbits and can lead to malnutrition, obesity, diarrhea, and tooth decay. So how did the extremely popular myth that rabbits like carrots get started? Well, we can trace that back to probably the most famous cartoon rabbit of all time, Bugs Bunny.
What's up, Doc?
Crunching on a carrot while wisecracking is one of Bugs Bunny's most immediately recognizable traits and really cemented the image of rabbits as being crazy for carrots. But if it was never really true, why was Bugs Bunny shown eating a carrot in the first place? Well, it turns out that the whole carrot munching bit was actually a pop culture reference to a very popular movie at the time, 1934's It Happened One Night. There was a very famous scene where the star, Clark Gable, snacks on a carrot while engaging in some witty banter with Claudette Colbert. It was such a famous scene that when Bugs Bunny was first shown with his trademark carrot, audiences immediately knew that this was a spoof of Clark Gable's very memorable performance. The irony is that the movie was somewhat forgotten over time, while Bugs Bunny continued to be a prominent cartoon character for the next 80 plus years and counting, so his association with the carrot shtick outlived Clark Gable's, even though Gable's came first. In short, a random scene from a movie that had nothing to do with rabbits altered our perception of rabbits for the next century. Weird, but true. There's an old stupid joke about how do you know carrots are good for your eyes? Because you never see rabbits wearing eyeglasses. Well, we already tackled the rabbit myth, so now let's move on to the eyesight myth. Actually, one of my favorite conversation starters, believe it or not. We're told from an early age that carrots are good for your eyesight, and that they can even help give you better night vision. But is this something we just tell kids to get them to eat their carrots at dinner time? Or is it true? Well, actually, there is some truth to it. As I mentioned before, carrots are orange because they're high in beta-carotene. The body uses beta-carotene to synthesize vitamin A, and vitamin A is necessary for eye health. Vitamin A deficiency leads to macular degeneration and dissolution of the cornea, both of which can cause blindness. Vitamin A is also a component of rhodopsin, which is a substance used by the eyes to see better in low light. But all this means is that a certain amount of vitamin A is necessary for healthy eyes, not that high doses of vitamin A will suddenly give you superhuman eyesight. So when did people start making this connection? That is actually a fascinating little bit of World War II propaganda. As I briefly mentioned earlier, orange carrots spread from the Netherlands all throughout Europe and especially to Great Britain. And by the 20th century, carrots had become a major agricultural crop for British farmers. The British became somewhat famous for growing, exporting, and especially eating massive quantities of carrots. Why is this important? Well, in World War II, Nazi Germany was executing a wide-scale bombardment of Great Britain, which they were going to follow up with troop landings on the British coast. All of this was being done at night under cover of darkness. What the Nazis didn't know was that the British had improved their radar technology to allow them to detect incoming German aircraft, and had also cracked some of the Nazis' codes, so they were warned in advance of the locations of the proposed Nazi invasion points. The Nazis were understandably frustrated that the British were foiling them at every turn, and of course the British didn't want to alert the Nazis that it was because they had all of this secret information. So they started putting out this story that carrots give you excellent night vision, and that because the British ate so many carrots, their eyesight was so keen that they were simply spotting Nazi aircraft and boats through the darkness. Even after the war was over and all of this information was declassified, the myth stuck. I mean, in all fairness, there is some truth to it, but the reason we've all been conditioned to believe in the extraordinary power of carrots is because the British propaganda worked too well, and we've been stuck with it ever since. So, there you have it, straight from the horse's mouth. See what I did there? Because horses also like carrots? Huh? Yeah. Horrible jokes aside, I hope you enjoyed today's video. I always love when you can take a totally mundane topic and reveal all of the interesting little footnotes and side notes to it. It's just amazing to me how much there is to learn about, well, everything. Even something as boring and stupid as carrots can have an amazing backstory.
This carrot, as you call it, has constructed an aircraft capable of flying some millions of miles through space.
Okay, maybe not that amazing, but interesting nonetheless. So, if you care at all about this channel, help us out by hitting those like and subscribe buttons and maybe giving some of my other videos a look. Thanks, we look forward to seeing you here next time, hopefully with some better writing. In today's episode, carrot? I barely knew it.
Cut.
Really? Carrot? Who writes this? Did you write that?